My toddler's scalp was burned with chemicals by my mother-in-law. When I posted about it, my husband threatened to take me to court for custody. My mother-in-law stroked my wild hair without asking. "But you must be used to it since you wear it like this," she said, petting it again after I asked her not to. "It should have been my warning." I add, "Such a shame you don't straighten it. You'd be so pretty with tamed hair. Hopefully the baby gets her daddy's good hair." He answered, "Well, let's hope you grow out of it." Banished her from delivery. She couldn't babysit for a year. I caved last week. My spouse and I needed one anniversary. His mother apologized for insults and promised boundaries. "Just 8 hours," my spouse said. "She raised me fine." "Yes, your mother raised you white. Please, she's trying." I agreed. My youngster cried when we returned. Her lovely 3C curls vanished. Golden blonde, fried straight. "What did you do?" "I couldn't breathe." "I fixed her," my mill said. For months, salon promises keratin treatment. The hue enhances her attractiveness. She won't face that mess at 16 months. A salon chair held my youngster for 3 hours. The scalp burnt. Lost her edge. She cried and rubbed her head, wondering why her hair felt weird. Chemically abused my child. Rest easy. My husband was silent as I picked up our daughter, and his mother called me theatrical the whole way home. Aloe on her scalp changed everything that night. Her friend said, "Thank God someone saved her from that nappy mess. Now she looks like she belongs in the family." One statement broke my heart. "She did that to Zoe when she was 2, Monica said bluntly. She relaxed her hair behind my back. Chris took his mother's side and thought I was exaggerating only hair. Chris didn't think his mother was wrong. "Why didn't you warn me?" I tried. "At your wedding, Chris seized me and threatened to take me back to court for custody if I caused issue at his brother's wedding." My hands were shaking. "She's done this before." I saw my husband working on his laptop as if nothing had occurred. "Your mother know about Zoe?" "How?" "Monica was always difficult about Mom. She was looking for problems." "Your mother chemically burned our daughter's scalp and meant well." Those 3 words stopped me. I posted photos of Lily's damaged hair, scalp and swollen eyes on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, my mail, the salon. Ethan's phone kept ringing until my husband said something that changed everything when my mother-in-law abused my 16-month-old black daughter without consent. It went viral with 18,000 likes and the salon's website was bombarded with criticism for chemically abusing AI. I asked, "Really?" "He didn't argue." Unknown number texted me. "Monica, your husband's been planning this for 5 months. I shakily opened my email. Slow file loading felt forever. I spotted it. Thomas Henderson's family law initial consultation notes in PDF format. The attorney provided bullet points outlining the wife's bad behavior with her mother-in-law, which hinders grandparent connections. Chris told attorney everything. Cultural differences compel wife to alienate child from father's family. Plan simulates wife's response. How I banned his mother from babysitting for a year, booted her out of the delivery room, and overreacted to Mia hair comments. The attorney planned to bring the grandma in, video my response, and prove parental alienation and instability. I promptly screenshotted the first, second, and subsequent pages and stored them in 3 locations. Chris didn't realize I forwarded the entire email to my personal account and copies to a cloud storage he couldn't access. I started writing on my phone's notes app. All conversations, texts, times Chris defended his mother, and times he called me theatrical were time-stamped, including the day his mother first stroked my hair, the delivery room event, last week's babysitting arrangement, and tonight's custody threat. Chris may enter at any time, so I worked fast. Chris's vehicle in the driveway made my heart race, but I kept my calm, closed my applications, and put my phone in my pocket. He entered unaffected. I ordered takeaway after Mia's burned scalp since I was too exhausted to prepare. Great, he thought. After Chris closed the door to his office, I ordered lunch and nursed Lily, watching her wail as she stroked her burnt hair. That night, I packed a duffel bag after Chris fell asleep and his breathing slowed. Lily's favorite stuffed animals, extra clothing, diapers, her file cabinet medical paperwork, our birth certificates, my passport, and the external hard drive with all my photographs and documents. I packed everything that couldn't be replaced and drove the luggage to my car secretly and swiftly. Next morning, I informed Chris I was taking Lily to the doctor. He said, "Okay," and returned to his phone. I drove to our pediatrician to check in. In 20 minutes, Dr. Thompson phoned to inquire what occurred and inspected Lily's head. He suggested Samuel Hampton, a downtown pediatric dermatologist, who contacted ahead to schedule an afternoon appointment. I thanked him and went to Samuel's office in a medical building near the hospital, where his nurse escorted us back to an exam room. Samuel introduced himself, zoomed Lily's scalp, took more photos, and measured areas I couldn't see. Sitting back, he claimed the chemical straightener burned her scalp layers. He typed a medical opinion on his letterhead after typing this on his computer. Her situation and pain were beyond her comprehension. I called Monica in the parking lot after we left and she answered on the first ring to testify about Chris's mother mistreating Zoe. Because I hadn't discussed CPS with anybody, she urged me to wait. I overheard her conversation. Monica emailed Rachel, a social worker who understood these things. When I phoned Rachel, she asked me to explain. Everything in the parking lot was searched. Rachel saw Lily play with her toys in the back seat, rub her head and moan, then told me to file a CPS report before Chris. Those who filed first controlled the story. CPS would investigate if Chris said I was unstable and made false charges. Lily slept off in her car seat on the 20-minute drive to the drab CPS office downtown near the courtroom. As Lily napped on my shoulder, I filled out the waiting room form with the child's name, age, chemical burns, 3 hours in the salon chair, and racist Facebook comments. The receptionist received it. I sent the 50-year-old intake worker Lily's burned scalp photos and Dr. Thompson and Samuel medical reports. 5 minutes later, she escorted me to a private office. The intake worker took notes on her computer while I showed her Chris's mother's Facebook post and all the comments calling Lily's hair messy. Has this happened before? I mentioned Zoe and provided Monica's phone. She nodded and took everything down, then informed me an investigator would be assigned to our case, that Angela Brooks will contact me within 24 hours to organize a house visit. Within 48 hours of the report, I received a case number and was instructed to gather my documents for Angela. I departed with Lily on my shoulder after thanking her. My medical records, photographs, Facebook screenshots, and timeline were arranged into folders at home after I fed Lily lunch and put her to sleep. An anonymous number called at 3 o'clock and CPS staffer Angela Brooks asked for me by name to schedule a house visit and interview to evaluate my claim. I gave her our address and scheduled a 2 o'clock home visit the next day. She requested Chris's number and said she'd call to schedule his interview. My stomach sank. Chris would know I submitted the complaint when Angela phoned. Maybe an hour before he arrived home, Chris came to the front door at 4:30 with a red face and tight jaw, slammed his luggage on the counter, and asked me what I did. I remained calm and informed him of my CPS report about his mother assaulting Lily. He screamed at me for trying to destroy his family, using our kid as a weapon, and treating his mother like a criminal for one mistake. He said CPS was for genuine abuse, not family hair. After letting him continue, I mentioned the divorce attorney. His face blanched. I informed him about his attorney's notes regarding recording my social media activity, the scheduled babysitting, and his 5-week planning. The legal advice was pointless. He wanted to know his rights and explore his options. Every marriage has problems. He stated I was overreacting to minor incidents and making everything about race. I wondered about little incidents. He said I was oversensitive to his mother's comments and that she loved Lily and would never hurt her. His response to my concern about chemical burns on a baby's scalp was that they were an accident. I informed him Facebook posts praising diaper changes don't cause accidents. Chris walked. Chris came 20 minutes later with a small duffel bag, saying he needed time to think, and would stay with his brother for a few days. As he planned with his counsel, I knew he was lying. Maya clung to him and wept as he kissed her goodbye. Said her daddy will see her soon, then departed without looking at me. Lily continued asking where daddy was after closing the door. I told her daddy had to work and she played with toys. I prepared for Angela's 2 o'clock visit the next day. In the evening, black woman in her 40s, Angela had lovely eyes and a professional demeanor. She wore a blazer and a leather briefcase. I recounted Chris's mother's comments during our relationship, and after Lily was born, Angela took notes and asked specific questions regarding Chris's sentiments and time frame. After I told her about the babysitting, I sent her Dr. Thompson's report, Samuel Hampton's chemical burn assessment, and Lily's scalp photos. Angela stared at me and asked whether Chris's family had made further racial comments after calling Lily's hair a nappy mess and saying she belonged. Angela saw Chris's silence and threat to take Lily if I didn't erase my social media. Angela's attention switched fast when I told her Chris's mother loosened Zoe's hair behind Monica's back at 2. Zoe was bald after 5 months after clumping hair. I gave her Monica's full name and number. Angela inquired about other occurrences. I informed her about the 3 women that messaged me after my tale went viral. All 3 had mixed-race children and were hair salted by Chris's relatives. I shared their contact details. She meticulously recorded everything and claimed a pattern of behavior across several youngsters made this a more serious issue. She demanded to photograph my paperwork and interview all the victims. So I let her. My evidentiary files were photographed for 20 minutes. Angela watched me comfort Lily as she whimpered and patted her head and hair. 2 weeks before departing, she agreed to interview Chris, his mother, Monica, and the witnesses. I contacted Jessica Hampton's number Rachel provided me that night to tell her who I was and how I obtained it. Jessica stated Rachel texted her about my situation and asked me to come to her office the next morning. Let Rachel watch Lily and went downtown. When the receptionist escorted me to a conference room, Jessica, a black lady in her late 30s with natural hair and a decent suit, welcomed me and encouraged me to sit. She needed to hear everything from me once Rachel gave her the idea. Jessica listened to my story again without interruption and requested copies of my documentation. She thoroughly reviewed Chris's attorney consultation screenshots, Facebook posts, and conference table statements. Jessica stated she had medical data and a pattern of conduct across many children to show Lily's injury. One white parent with family resources complicates family court. Jessica stated judges struggled with these instances because they didn't comprehend culture. Chris's attorney would say that various families have different grooming standards, that Chris's mother meant well but didn't understand black hair, and that I was overreacting and isolating Chris from his kid. We were informed that a white court would not comprehend why artificially straightening a black baby's hair constituted an identity attack, not just a lousy haircut. Chris's months of planning helped our case, I informed her. Jessica wrote on a legal pad that Chris's premeditation for custody was required. Monica stated Chris saw his brother do this. Despite knowing what his mother did to black grandkids, he set it up. Jessica asked whether I had custody fight funding. I said I was a stay-at-home mom without a job. The more cases we had, the harder it was to call this uncommon. Chris would use my financial reliance against me, but she suggested spousal and child support. Her retainer fee was too much for my account, making me ill. Jessica said she had payment plans for circumstances like mine after seeing my frown. For Lily's safety, I signed Jessica's retainer that afternoon. She promised to react to Chris's custody request and receive paperwork quickly. After 2 days, a process server came. On the couch, I opened a manila package with divorce papers and an interim custody request. Chris blamed my psychological imbalance for separating him from Lily and accused his dying mother of abuse. After reading the petition twice, I called Jessica. It sought primary custody of Lily, supervised visitation for me, and full access to Chris's mother's grandchild. When I arrived, she carefully read the paperwork and looked at me. She said we had a battle, but Chris had made paperwork mistakes and overreached by demanding monitored visits and supported his mother so strongly. Jessica promised we'd respond in a week and win. Chris's response arrived through Jessica's office 2 days later. She advised me to read the PDF on a chair. I opened it at my kitchen table as Lily napped. Daniel Foster painted me as everything I dreaded in 43 pages. I was called emotionally unstable and vindictive for harming grandparent relationships and Chris's family name on social media because I couldn't handle cultural differences and haircare preferences. Daniel used chemically assaulted and racist attack to get me furious and Chris's family references to make me hostile. I kept her from bonding with Lily because his mother believed I was overbearing and suspicious. The filing requested the court to notice that I was separating Maya from her father's family and utilizing fake abuse charges. Before phoning Jessica, I read it again. Shivering, she answered the first ring and asked whether I was done. She sought my permission to file the protection order request based on Samuel's medical report and Facebook proof that afternoon and promised to submit it within 2 hours. Everything was in the 37-page motion. Jessica exhibited Lily's charred scalp, Samuel Hampton's medical report, every racist Facebook comment, and Zoe's 5-year-old pattern. Monica's written testimony about Chris's family protecting the granny was removed. Because Lily was young and the medical evidence was obvious, Jessica requested emergency hearings sooner than 2 to 3 weeks. 2 days later, the court clerk called to schedule the emergency hearing for Tuesday, leaving us 1 week to prepare. Jessica said it was extremely rapid, so the judge prioritized our filing and directed me to prepare my testimony in her office that afternoon. Jessica told me to prepare to answer questions regarding the attack, Chris's preparedness, his family's background, and everything Daniel Foster would throw at me at her office to disprove my accusations and make me appear hysterical. She told me to be calm and address medical traumas, burns, and irreversible follicle damage. He stated I overreacted to the viral article because I didn't comprehend white families' haircare methods and focused on public retribution rather than Lily. Jessica played Daniel and asked me tough questions to make me defensive, such as why I wrote publicly instead of privately, if I was using Lily to punish Chris for his mother's innocent mistake, and if I had anger management issues. Evening call from Monica. I calmly explained Lily's burnt scalp, 3-hour salon chair time, racist Facebook comments, and Chris's 5-week time frame and let them work. She was happy to testify after Jessica requested she had Zoe's 5-year-old medical records of hair loss and scalp injuries and photographs of how awful it was before her hair grew back. David phoned her after hearing about the hearing to tell her not to testify, claiming it would destroy the family and achieve nothing. She'd rather not protect child abusers. She stated his whole family knew what their mother did to black grandkids but ignored it since it meant confessing to something nasty. Monica inquired how I was doing. I mentioned I was worried about losing Lily, Chris's family resources, and the court not understanding why. She understood since she'd been there 4 years before, but I had papers, medical data and planning that supported my case. Chris proposed settling out of court the night before the hearing. He suggested his mother apologize, and I dropped the protection order to prevent costly legal battles and co-parenting issues. Before answering, I screenshotted and emailed Jessica the text. She phoned me immediately and urged me not to meet him alone, because he was trying to get me to say anything he could use against me. She also instructed me to answer only through her because any conversation required attorney paperwork. She texted Chris's attorney that her client would not meet privately and settlement conversations must be legal. Daniel answered within 1 hour. Which was bad because they wanted to address things amicably. Jessica said it was to make the court record sound reasonable while portraying me as stubborn and reluctant to compromise. One Tuesday morning, I dressed professionally but casually and left Lily with Rachel, who had taken the day off work to help me. She held me at the door and I had to remove her fingers from my shirt. The enormous gray downtown courtroom has metal detectors and security guards. Jessica met me in the lobby and led me through security with a bag of paperwork and documentation. Rachel promised she would be okay. Chris and Daniel Foster wore black suits. Chris ignored me. Daniel nodded at Jessica like good colleagues. 10 minutes before our hearing, Monica presented a packet of paperwork. The bailiff called our case and we entered court. The judge, a 50-year-old woman with brushed-back gray hair, looked at both sides and said this was an emergency protection order preliminary hearing. Our first witness, Samuel Hampton, testified after his morning clinic. He produced his medical report when Jessica asked him about Lily's scalp inspection. He said he checked her scalp 5 days after chemical therapy. He found second-degree scalp burns, hair follicle damage along her hairline, and chemical exposure unsuitable for children under 12. Chemical burns from keratin and bleach take months to heal. Samuel told the judge that children's scalps are more sensitive and hair follicles are still growing, making this therapy undesirable. Samuel stopped Daniel from saying the hairdresser made a mistake. Child under 12 might be permanently damaged by chemical straighteners. Resigned when Jessica complimented him, Monica stood and swore in with the Bible. 4 years ago, Jessica approached Monica about Zoe. Monica showed her folder and testified that Chris's mother took 2-year-old Zoe for an afternoon visit. Zoe had straight, relaxed hair when Monica took her up. Grandmother said that was a pleasure. A pediatric dermatologist revealed chemical burns and follicular damage from an adult-strength relaxer on Zoe's scalp after a week of clumping hair. Monica approached David and Chris's mother. But David said it was hair and Monica was overreacting. The family rallied, claiming the grandma meant well and Monica was tough. Monica presented the judge images of Zoe's hair loss, bald spots, broken hair, and a 2-year-old screaming and rubbing her head for weeks. She stated that Zoe was largely bald for 6 months before growing hair. Daniel stepped up to cross-examine her and asked if she'd charged Chris's mother with Zoe's murder. Monica declined since David had threatened to take her to court for custody if she caused him problems. Daniel claimed it wouldn't matter if she hadn't sued. Monica stared him in the eye and stated she fought her ex-husband's affluent family as a young mother without finances. She was incorrect to retreat since she was terrified and alone. She wouldn't remain silent while another black youngster was hurt. The court told Daniel to move on and asked Monica whether she had proof that Chris's mother's actions were racially motivated rather than merely bad judgment. Monica said the grandmother's diaper mess fixing and Facebook compliments on Lily's beauty were proof. Daniel called Chris to testify after Jessica rested. Chris adjusted his tie twice before sitting, seeming apprehensive. Daniel requested his babysitting story. Chris wasn't aware his mother arranged Lily's salon visit and was as startled as I was by her hair. Daniel wondered whether his mother wanted to hurt Lily. Chris declined. When Chris sought divorce advice, Jessica questioned him. He stated his mother liked Lily and was getting her hair done professionally to help. He suggested the hairdresser used the wrong chemicals or applied them wrongly. Chris paused and stated he didn't recall when Jessica took out Monica's paperwork. She repeated her request, handing him his attorney consultation papers from 5 weeks before the babysitting event. Chris flushed. He stated the consultation was irrelevant. Jessica inquired about its relevance. Chris carefully reviewed the attorney notes, which included: document wife's social media behavior as evidence of instability and mother can provide stable child care. Jessica sought it after months of marital conflict. Jessica wondered whether it was a coincidence that his mother did something that made me respond strongly on social media 5 weeks after sending those messages and he applied for custody. Chris stated that wasn't his plan. Jessica also questioned whether he told me his mother had hurt Zoe 4 years previously. Jessica wondered if chemical burns on a toddler's scalp or Monica's behavior were issues. Chris didn't reply. Judge stared at him. Her question was if he knew his mother chemically treated black grandchildren's hair without consent. Chris said he hoped his mother learnt from her error, but the judge appeared displeased. She ordered Chris's mother to stop contacting Lily and appointed a professional monitor to supervise Chris's visits until further notice. A court-appointed psychologist would evaluate Chris's custody. Chris's face blanched. Daniel objected, but the court ruled this was a temporary order with a full hearing in 60 days. Jessica grabbed my shoulder and said we won round 1. Monica hugged me in the hall. Daniel was on his phone. Chris ignored us. I picked up Lily at Rachel's right away. When I arrived, she was happy and playing with blocks on the floor, inhaled her baby shampoo scent as I held her. Rachel inquired how things went, and I said the judge affirmed the protective order, protecting Lily. Chris texted before I put Lily in her car seat, accusing me of poisoning the court against his family, destroying calm co-parenting, and being vengeful. 4 claimed his mother cried and wondered why the court believed my falsehoods. I screenshotted and texted them to Jessica, who replied minutes later to keep my phone on and ignore Chris. Each of his 14 texts that night showed he cared more about defending his mother than Lily. Jessica preserved them all as proof of his priorities. First evaluation by Brianna Green at Rachel's residence 2 days later. She was younger than expected, maybe early 30s, with gentle eyes and a smooth gait that didn't scare Lily. Her first 30 minutes were spent playing with floor blocks while Lily got ready. After seeing Lily play, she gently brought a teddy bunny closer. When Brianna stroked her head 3 more times to tweak her ear, Lily retreated. Brianna videotaped my reactions and questioned Lily's pre-assault behavior. I noticed the changes. Lily loved baths and smiled as I combed shampoo into her hair. She yells and declines. Brianna scheduled my downtown office appointment the following week. I sat across from her in a room with soothing lighting and plush seats that undoubtedly made most people relax. Lily stopped sleeping through the night and had accidents despite being mostly toilet trained. She questioned my family background, parenting style, and Chris's family's care of Lily since birth. I told her about the comments, the unwelcome stroking of my hair, and my want for Lily's curls to grow out. She inquired whether I downplayed any incidences. Chris's aunt stated Lily would look better with straight hair at her first birthday party. Chris's cousin inquired whether I planned to relax her hair when she got older, and Chris's mother gave Lily a blonde baby doll for Christmas on the promise that she'd finally have a toy that looked. Brianna took notes and asked why I hadn't set limitations sooner. She recorded my wish for a peaceful marriage. Chris's interview was 3 days after mine. Discovery gave Jessica Brianna's notes. Chris stated his mother meant well and didn't understand my hair sensitivity. Chemistry burned Lily's scalp, which might happen to anybody. I showed cultural sensitivity, not aggression. Brianna stated family came above kid safety and didn't see how his mother produced Lily's identity dilemma. The study recommended monitored visits until Chris completed cultural competency training and understood the harm. CPS hearing for Angela Brooks ended about the same time. After interrogating Monica about Zoe's experience, Samuel Hampton about Maya's injuries, and salon records revealing adult chemical treatments on an 18-month-old, she sent me her final report with a cover letter supporting the abuse accusation. Chris's mother illegally burnt Lily's scalp with dangerous chemicals, inflicting permanent damage. Research warned against unsupervised interaction. Just days after the CPS ruling, Chris's mother hired an attorney and requested Jessica to defend the abuse allegations, saying she was helping Maya match with her friends and didn't aware the salon chemicals would burn. Chris's mother battled CPS, but the salon owner reached out. Chris's mother's friends said that she loved Maya and would never injure her in the move. I felt horrible reading it since these ladies commented on her Facebook post applauding the attack. Jessica phoned me soon after getting the compensation offer, which covered all of Maya's medical bills, and agreed that the salon should never have chemically straightened a child, regardless of who brought her in. The owner plainly wanted to avoid state board license suspension. She stated accepting it was wise since it proved the salon's formal acknowledgement of wrongdoing, which would help our custody case by demonstrating even professionals found the treatment unacceptable. Samuel Hampton's dermatology and Maya's treatment were covered by the compensation. I signed the contract next. That week, Chris's family launched a social media campaign. His aunt wrote about how I was separating Maya from her beloved grandma for a haircut. His relative captioned Chris's mother's weeping photo with grandparents' rights. Many relatives submitted identical remarks, accusing me of rage and casting themselves as victims. They overlooked Zoe's hair loss, chemical burns, and racist statements 4 years ago, and blamed me for splitting a family. My initial post went beyond Chris's family's damage control. 3 black women inquired about Chris's extended relatives. Chris's cousin relaxed one woman's daughter at a family gathering, while his uncle trimmed another woman's son's hair overnight. A third woman reported Chris's aunt bleached her skin with lightening cream to seem less ethnic. A family considered all black children as problems. 2 days after receiving their contact information, Jessica subpoenaed all 3 ladies who contacted me regarding Chris's extended relatives. Each mom testified about their children for 3 weeks at her workplace. The first mom, whose kid obtained a relaxer from Chris's cousin at a family reunion, produced scalp damage medical papers and images of her 6-year-old weeping in the restroom. The second lady stated Chris's uncle chopped her son's hair as he slept during an overnight stay, making him seem thuggish. The third lady had doctor evidence showing chemical burns on her daughter's arms and face from Chris's aunt's skin lightening product, instructing her to look. Jessica chronicled everything, showing that this wasn't one grandmother's error but a familial culture that regarded black traits as issues. A 6-year trend involving 4 black offspring from Chris's 3 branches of family made it difficult to dismiss as coincidence or cultural. Daniel Foster offered Jessica a settlement 2 days after the last deposition. Jessica reviewed deposition transcripts to prove Chris's family hurt several black children and that all white family members protected them. Chris had to prove he'd suppressed that need before spending unsupervised time with Maya 6 weeks following her attack. Daniel hung up without consent. Bright, frigid fluorescent lighting illuminated the interim custody hearing in a court conference room. Daniel Foster showed printed screenshots of my viral social media post with 18,000 shares and hundreds of comments, alleging that I publicly humiliated Chris's elderly mother out of vindictiveness, weaponized my daughter's image for attention, and lacked co-parenting respect. He contacted Chris to testify about how my work hurt his mother, who received death threats and had to unplug her phone. Chris looked fatigued and dejected, wondering why I despised his mother for sobbing for days. Jessica's cross-examination was precise. After Chris fumbled through his premeditation and priorities, Jessica gave Samuel Hampton's chemical burn testimony, Maya's scalp photos, and the 3 other parents' deposition transcripts. Brianna Green's custody assessment report arrived via email 3 days after the hearing. I read it on my phone in my car outside the grocery shop, trembling my hands. The court took notes as she revealed coordinated family conduct targeting black youngsters. Chris's mother chemically altered Maya's black hair to harm her body and identity, according to study. She advised primary physical custody for Maya and supervised visits for Chris until he could safeguard her from his family's prejudice. Chris's inability to recognize racial damage, his denial of his mother's actions, and his family's history of beating other black children led Brianna Green to recommend cultural competency education and therapy before unsupervised parenting. Maya shivered anytime anyone touched her head, indicating medical stress from the 3-hour salon session. 2 weeks later, the judge handed me primary physical custody and Chris 2-hour supervised visitation twice a week. Chris had to complete a mixed parent cultural competence training before unsupervised visitation. His mother couldn't reach Maya, postponing parenting. The judge stated at Chris's 6-month cultural competency program review hearing that protecting a child from racially motivated assault was not parental alienation, but appropriate parenting, and that Chris's premeditated planning to gain custody after his mother's assault showed that family loyalty trumped child safety. Chris appealed within 10 days of Maya's custody adjustment, arguing that the judge had shown bias by accepting the cultural framing of a bad haircut gone wrong, that keeping Maya from her grandmother was parental alienation, and that the judge had improperly elevated my cultural concerns over a child's right to know. Chris's family statement in Daniel Foster's brief presented his mother as a loving grandma who made an honest mistake, recasting the case as a custody battle where one spouse was using race as a weapon rather than a child protection case with proven racism. While the appeal was pending, I packed and paid the first, final and security deposits on a little apartment across town with my settlement money. Monica moved boxes and loaded my car with clothing, toys and cooking items over 2 trips while Rachel watched Maya. Chris's mother never entered that little 1-bedroom apartment with mine walls where Maya and I lived. Without dreams, Maya slept better the first night. 3 days after moving, I set up Maya's area with her beloved stuffed animals and black children with natural hair books for her first Black Trauma Recovery for Toddlers play therapist session. Brianna Green recommended it. The therapist informed me after an hour that Maya had medical trauma from the salon adventure, that 3 hours on a chair being burnt with chemicals had taught her that her body wasn't safe and grown-ups couldn't heal her. She avoided the curly-haired doll and touched her head while anxious. Chris completed mandatory cultural competency training 4 months into temporary detention. For the court review hearing, the therapist advised weekly sessions for 6 months and noted Maya's development. A 5-page essay on how he'd apply what he learned to raising Maya was his last assignment. Multiracial identity formation, black hair discrimination, white privilege in parenting, and protecting children from racist family members were covered in the 10-week curriculum. After Jessica acquired a copy from the program administrator, I read Chris's paper about cultural grooming norms and how he found some people liked natural hair. His mother's beauty criteria for Maya were erroneous, he argued. Matching my cultural inclinations with his family's and training Maya to adjust were the topics. He never claimed his mother abused Maya's body and identity, or that calling her natural hair a mess was discriminatory. Jessica moved to use Chris's essay in court as proof he hadn't learned the program's principles and couldn't safeguard Maya from his family's prejudice. Chris attended all sessions but refused to address his involvement in his family's prejudice, according to the program organizer. Chris's writing revealed that he understood this as a cultural preference problem, not a racist attack on a toddler's identity, Jessica stated. Chris's development was reviewed by the judge, who ordered him to see a new therapist to examine his awareness. Clara, a court employee, supervised the visit 2 weeks after Chris left treatment and attended every Chris-Maya encounter. While Maya napped, I read her first report in my email at my kitchen table. After the 3rd visit, Clara reported that Chris spent much of each 2-hour session explaining, "Grandma didn't mean to hurt you, and she was trying to help." While Maya played with blocks or sought to flee, Chris addressed his mother, and Maya looked troubled and stroked her head. To help, Clara advised Chris to stop talking about his mother and play with Maya during visits. I sent Jessica the report immediately. Maya returned from Chris visits transformed. She hugged me as she hadn't since she was young, refusing to let go when I needed the restroom or cooked dinner. The first night, she cried 4 times. Week after week she caressed her head, ran her fingers through her hair, and cried on my bed. She played and slept well before visits. Visits made her point, cry, and stop saying the few words she'd learnt. After 6 weeks, Maya's therapist asked the court to end Chris's visitation because it worsened her trauma. After Maya wouldn't let the doctor examine her head, the doctor sent a similar letter. To establish the current visitation arrangement was harmful, Jessica filed both letters to the court linking Chris's visits to Maya's discomfort. Chris's custody appeal dragged. His counsel argued the judge was biased against his family, and that taking Maya from her grandma was inappropriate. The appeal brief termed the protection order disproportionate and accused me of turning Maya against Chris's family. Daniel Foster said the court attributed racial motives to grooming standards and family discord. I felt sick when Jessica's brief called it grooming and treated chemically burning a baby's scalp as hair maintenance. 3 months after the custody hearing, the appeals court refused Chris's appeal, noting that the trial court had appropriately analyzed Maya's injuries and that Chris's family's history of violence against several black children proved this wasn't an issue. Jessica said she was thrilled and that this was a big move that will prevent Chris from arguing custody again. The appeals court decided that Chris failed to protect Maya from his mother's racial abuse and that the trial judge was right to limit his visits. Daniel Foster phoned Jessica with a settlement offer 2 days after the appeal was refused. Chris would accept decreased visits if I dropped my desire that he cover Maya's treatment and medical fees. In a coffee shop near her office, Jessica discussed the suggestion. Chris should pay half of Maya's therapy since his mother caused it. Jessica told me the settlement would permanently lock in my primary custody and end the court disputes, which was great since it gave me what I needed, Maya's safety and main custody. Thought about it for 2 days. Samuel Hampton's dermatologist visits and treatments were expensive. I agreed with Jessica but wanted Chris's visits to climb slowly per Maya's therapist, since ending the custody battle was better than months of court hearings and appeals. After a week of talks, Jessica and Daniel agreed that Chris would progressively increase visits from monitored to unsupervised when Maya's therapist felt she was ready and pay half of medical and therapy expenditures. The protection order against his mother lasted until Maya could decide. Maya might decide to see her grandmother at 13. Jessica detailed the divorce and custody terms 4 months after the incident, and I signed each page. Chris had supervised visitation for 4 hours a week, which may become unsupervised depending on Maya's therapy. I had main physical custody. Chris had to pay child support and half of Maya's medical bills. She was invisible to his mother. 2 weeks after the agreement, Maya's daycare director shakily told me Chris's mother had seen her granddaughter that morning. Following our months-long safety strategy, the director pushed Chris's mother to leave immediately, calling the police when she refused. She was arrested in minutes by 2 officers. The director said Maya hadn't seen her grandma since they kept the kids in their classrooms. But other parents saw everything and asked questions. I picked her up early and phoned Jessica from the parking lot. That afternoon, Jessica filed contempt charges against Chris's mother, including the child care police report and a request for criminal prosecution if she violated the protective order again. The judge renewed the injunction and added criminal charges 2 weeks later. Chris's mother seemed to understand the court's seriousness when the judge reminded her of Maya's protection order and that she may be arrested if she tried to contact her again. Samuel Hampton measured Maya's hair growth 6 months after the incident under strong lights. Most of her hair grew back with its natural curls, but other sections revealed permanent thinning where the chemicals killed the follicles. Samuel added follicular damage will constantly weaken those regions and may never grow back, which was ideal given the burn's severity. Similar chemical accidents caused more permanent hair loss in several kids. Maya's therapist reported strong trauma recovery progress during our regular check-in. Samuel advised her to avoid heat and chemicals on her hair for 2 more years and use moderate scalp treatments. Maya felt safer and wasn't sobbing or caressing her head as much, but she worried about hair care and was uncomfortable with new people. The slightest touch to her head still frightened her. 2 months after that therapy update, Monica and I set up folding chairs in a circle in a community center meeting room and advertised the support group on local parenting forums and Black Mother Facebook groups, keeping it generic to be safe but specific to attract the right people. 8 early 20s to mid-40s ladies arrived that first night, all with the exhausted expression I saw in my mirror every morning. One woman's white mother-in-law bleached her 3-year-old son's skin while babysitting to look like his father. Another ex-husband's new wife trimmed her daughter's unclean hair. A third found out her mother-in-law had been relaxing her 5-year-old's hair every weekend for months, claiming it was their secret. As we moved around the circle, I felt less alone and more irritated at how prevalent it was. Monica addressed Zoe's bald spots and the family's belief it was a bad haircut. Photos of Maya's charred scalp and Facebook comments applauding the assault were shown. Our next support group meeting 2 weeks later covered custody. Chris's therapist informed the court 3 weeks later that he had undergone racial harm-focused cultural competency training. Jessica thoroughly read and discussed the letter with the therapist before consenting to unsupervised visits. Chris matured by understanding his mother's discrimination and cruelty, not just grooming. Chris's first solo visit with Maya lasted 2 hours in my neighborhood park. In my automobile, watching them swing, I panicked. Chris's visits increased to 4 hours, 6, then overnight stays on weekends once he stopped downplaying his mother's behavior and rebuilt trust. The prior month's supervised visitation reports showed Chris's contact with Maya changed. 4 months after the event, I testified about Maya's injuries and Samuel Hampton's chemical burn results at the salon license suspension. The board suspended its license for 6 months and required new policies, including mandatory parental consent forms, age verification for all chemical services, and staff training on child-appropriate treatments, after finding that the salon had chemically treated 3 other children under 5 without parental consent in the past 2 years. The owner sent me a formal apology 2 weeks after the suspension, apologizing for not investigating why an 18-month-old needed keratin and platinum blonde. She stated she ignored her professional advice on toddler behavior to please Chris's mother. Sorry felt empty because it came. Chris's mother's attorney letter came at Jessica's office by certified mail 5 months after the incident. 2 pages of carefully phrased apologies for her destructive and discriminatory behavior, for disrespecting my role as Maya's mother, and for realizing the protective role. Jessica reviewed the letter in her office and showed me that the attorney wrote it instead of Chris's mother. The phrase was too legal, too carefully crafted to escape criminal responsibility while appearing sorry. Chris's mother never used war. I didn't respond to Jessica to protect Maya and not unfairly punish Chris's mother. Maya turned 2 on a beautiful October Saturday. Jessica informed the court that Chris's mother knew about the protection order, But we argued that contact should be prohibited until Maya can decide regarding her grandma. I celebrated with Monica, Zoe, Rachel, and 3 other support group friends at our apartment with a homemade cake, balloons and black culture and natural hair books and toys. Zoe, 6, helped Maya blow out candles and unload presents without tearing paper. Watching them play, I was delighted Maya had a relative who understood her issues. After the celebration, Chris dropped off his present and spent an hour with Maya, a refreshing break from my marriage's terrible family gatherings. They appreciated her natural curls and dark skin. Our family wizard software tracked every conversation, schedule change and expense when Chris and I started co-parenting. He never entered or inquired about his mother. Our relationship would never heal from his deceit. But we helped Maya. The app was businesslike and focused on Maya's needs, not our failing marriage or his poisonous family. He paid child support on time every month and followed the custody plan without asking for extensions. He reacted immediately to updates and volunteered to change the timetable for Maya's illness. After everything, it was functional and courteous, which was more than I expected. But I knew our relationship would never recover from what he'd done. Planning for months to abduct my daughter, ignoring his mother's violence, and threatening me with custody loss when I attempted to protect Ma. That man broke our love and trust. My part-time graphic design job was from home and a small downtown shared office when Maya was 26 months old. After Chris used his pay as a weapon in the custody struggle, having my own money let me make decisions regarding Maya's care, our living environment and our future without compromising with him. Design was satisfying too. I forgot I liked producing, solving visual challenges, and working outside of being Maya's mother. Worked part-time allowed me independence and fulfillment, yet time with Maya to support her healing and everyday needs. With powerful 3C curls, Maya's front and crown recovered better than Samuel Hampton projected. The margins were narrow, and the rear left part where the follicles had perished would likely always be thin. As Maya's hair grew, I nourished and preserved it using 2-strand twists, band 2 knots, and simple braiding designs. Other black mothers educated me about sulfate-free shampoos, leave-in conditioners, natural oils, and cultural preservation and love in hair care for our daughter. In between my knees I detangled Maya's curls and shaped them into protective twists, undoing Chris's mother's injury and teaching her that her natural hair was lovely and treasured and that her mother would always protect and celebrate her. The year after the attack, Monica watched Maya and Zoe play on the jungle gym with me on a blanket in the park. As she bounced down the slide after climbing the ladder, Maya giggled joyfully. The support group's legal resource guide for black mothers was discussed while we watched our daughters. We'd overcome deliberate family attacks, hostile judicial systems, and constructed safe, proud new lives. Maya's hair never recovered, and she still feared new people touching her head. Despite my anger at Chris's months of preparation and his family's prejudice, we were recreating Maya's life with freedom, a loving family, and a support network that understood our situation. Chris was a good co-parent who prioritized Maya above his mother. For the first time in a year, I felt cautiously optimistic about our future since we lived with people who loved us. Since starting a support group with Monica 6 months ago, 20 women come every Tuesday night at the downtown community center to tell tales that sound too similar to be coincidence. We wrote a legal guidance on custody rights when white family members abuse black children's hair or skin last month. Monica performs the legal research because she did it with Zoe, and I coordinate the paperwork and evidence-gathering guidance. We included attorneys who understand why chemically burning a toddler's scalp isn't simply a lousy haircut and won't tell black mothers they're exaggerating when white grandparents abuse them. Jessica finished first with 5 stars. Our network has 12 racially abused custody dispute victims ready to testify. The library prints and distributes everything for free because we remember how it felt to deal with this alone 18 months ago when Chris's mother visited that salon with my son. I trusted too easily, ignored warning flags, and believed everyone who claimed to improve. Documentation, gut instinct, and knowing that safeguarding Maya requires keeping watchful, even when calm are my habits. I now see the indications most mothers overlook, such little statements that suggest bigotry and boundary breaches that lead to attacks. Maya will know her mother defended her when needed. Regrowing hair will indicate Maya we survived a devastating attack. We love her dark complexion, natural curls, and booming laugh that fills our flat choosing family who respects and won't change us works.